Welcome to the Bulls Guys podcast, ladies and gentlemen, episode 22. I'm your host, Kenyatta Wright. My co-host, Greg, is off for tonight. So the Chicago Bulls lose to the Milwaukee Bucks 127-106. We're going to recap that game. The Bulls also clinched the playoffs tonight due to a Cleveland Cavaliers loss to the Orlando Magic. We're also going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the team's identity, their mindset going into the playoffs. All that and more after this break.
You're listening to the Bulls Guys podcast, where we talk about your Chicago Bulls and give an unbiased take. Thank you for listening, and like and subscribe.
It's an honor to be able to get in the playoffs. Like you said, the franchise haven't been here, 5 years. So for us to make the jump that we made to be in a position to be able to compete in the playoffs is definitely great. Give us the opportunity to further our season and play for something bigger.
So that was DeMar DeRozan giving his thoughts on the Bulls clinching the playoffs with the Cleveland Cavaliers losing tonight to the Orlando Magic. A shame that it had to come to that for us to clinch the playoffs. The Bulls lose 127-106, and with that, the Bucks clinch the Central Division. They win the division championship, and we've all heard me talk about winning the division championship. But here we are. Biggest positive tonight, Patrick Williams looked really good tonight. 18 points for him, 6 rebounds. Probably his complete game, his most complete game that I've seen in some time. 2 for 4 from 3, 7 for 9 from the field. Terrific shooting percentage. DeRozan had a 40-point night. Good night as usual for him. And Alex Caruso had 9. Now, Alex Caruso was scoreless in this one and had 8 assists, 3 rebounds, and just one of those games, man, that we've been having so often this year against another good team. And you have to be concerned, seeing is that the Bulls can't defeat a good team, and, they're playing the Boston Celtics in the next game. And you have to, look at it like this, this is a team that they've beaten already. So as it stands, the Bulls have gotten swept by the 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Miami Heat. So 3 top teams in the Eastern Conference the Bulls could not defeat this season. And the same goes in the West for the Suns and the Golden State Warriors, who's having a rough time right now, and the Memphis Grizzlies. The Bulls got swept against the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, no Bulls fan that I've spoken to on Bullseye Group see a problem with this. No Bulls fan that I spoke to online see a problem with this. Everybody's taking it as a learning experience. I see a big problem with it, and I wasn't happy to hear Billy Donovan say this.
But I'm hopeful that these things will harden us. These experiences will harden us, and we'll get tougher and more resilient and kind of more battle tested, going through some of this stuff that we've gone through, because I really think since the All-Star break, it's been a really, really, really challenging schedule with the quality of teams that we've played.
You think, Billy Donovan? The Bulls are 7-13 since the All-Star break, brother. They haven't beaten a good team all season. So for you to say you think these experiences should harden us, don't you think in 82 games we should have gotten hardened up? Don't you think we should have been ready? And don't you think we should have been prepared? Don't you think we should have been ready and prepared to play some of the games that we're playing now? I just see a team that's just happy to make the playoffs, man, based on these interviews in this post game. And it really pisses me off because as a Bulls fan, for many, many years, that's not what we celebrate in Chicago, just making the playoffs. No, we celebrate winning playoff series. We celebrate winning. We celebrate trying to win a championship. We don't celebrate just clinch in the playoffs. But judging by seeing how the team has played all year, man, listen, it doesn't surprise me that this is how you guys are acting just for clinching the play. You didn't even win tonight. You got blown out. You lost the division to a rival that injured one of your guys in the locker room. Got swept and lost the division, and you're happy just because you clinched the playoffs. You didn't even win tonight. You clinched the playoffs because the Cleveland Cavaliers lost tonight and helped you get in. Is that something to be proud of as a Chicago Bulls fan, knowing our history? Man, the Chicago Bulls are slowly turning into a joke. And I think Billy Donovan is the culprit. He's the reason why we're turning into a joke. It all starts with coaching, man. If your players come out not focused, not ready to win, not ready to go out there and be the best they can be, not willing to go out there and challenge themselves. I mean, I've seen this team lose all year to good teams and then come out in the next game and play like they didn't just get blown out. Back to back against the Brooklyn Nets and the Golden State Warriors, they played the same way with the same effort. How are you motivating these guys? Are you teaching them that everything is just a learning process? Well, we're 3 games away from the playoffs, Billy Donovan. It ain't about learning processes no more. It's about winning games. And if you can't get these guys to focus and know that this is the big dance now, I see the Bulls getting swept in the first round. I see it, Billy. I want to take a look at some of these stats tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, fast break points, the Bulls gave up 17 fast break points for the Milwaukee Bucks. They're not even really a fast break team. 54 points they gave up in the paint to the Bucks. Let's see how many fast break points we got. 15, 42 points in the paint. Our numbers ain't too bad, but we don't play much defense. 22 assists tonight for the Bulls, 32 for the Bucks. Largest lead of the game for the Bucks was 24. Largest lead for us was 2. Gave up 28 points to Brook Lopez. Man. For me, I'm disappointed, not just because of the game, but I'm disappointed because our players seem to have just this year just tried to play for the playoffs. And they're short of the playing game, but now that they clinch, they're saved from the playing game. So 79 games, we've lost 34 of those. 27-12 at home, which is not a bad home record. But, the Bulls are going to play on the road because they're 6th seed. So they're going to have to learn how to play on the road really fast. And not only that, they're going to learn how to have to play defense. And they're going to have to learn how to push teams to play their style, which is a full-court game. But all in all, what does this really prove that we clinched the playoffs? What does it really prove? I mean, there's a lot of teams that's going to make the playoffs this year. You look at the West, which you got the Timberwolves getting in. You got the Clippers getting in, who's been injured all year. Bottom dwelling teams is not nothing to celebrate. But Billy Donovan seems to think so.
This is really the first time they've all played with one another. And, I'm just happy that, for them, that they'll get a chance to experience that. And a lot of the guys, so it will be the first time for them. And then certainly for the organization, just I think the history and, the, championships and, what the organization has done, over a long period of time to be able to get back to the playoffs. Just at least, I think we're trying to build, and that's the biggest thing. How do you keep building, from last year to this year and continually try to get better?
Well, first thing you got to do, Billy, you got to learn from your mistakes. The players got to get better from their mistakes. How did they manage to lose to a good team all year long without improving anything? How did they manage to do that? That's the real question, man. You sitting up here on your podium talking about you're just happy to make the playoffs and, the history of the Chicago Bulls and yada, yada, yada. But my question for you is, what are you going to do when you get to the playoffs? I mean, you don't just want to make it just to be an embarrassment. You want to be able to compete. And the bad news is, Billy Donovan, with the Bulls falling as low as they are, they're going to have to play a good team. And they haven't proven to me all year that they can beat a good team. So why should I believe they're going to beat a good team four times in a 7-game series? This team hasn't given me any reason to believe that. In my opinion, Billy, if I was AK, you would be fired, brother. The team was a number 1 seed most of the year, and they repeatedly just kept losing games. Your excuse would say, oh, well, we had guys out. Man, everybody's been hurt all year, man. Tom Thibodeau coached this team years ago and had an injured roster in the playoffs and still got results. Your problem is you're too soft and you're a player's coach and you don't know how to hold these guys accountable. Any team where their players come out and make the same mistakes repeatedly, that falls on coaching, brother. You got to hold these players accountable and let them know what you expect out of them and be diligent and expecting it. And I haven't seen that. I just see you sitting on the bench chewing your gum, and I just see players making the same dumb mistakes while you just sit there and hope that they will figure it out. But they haven't figured it out, man. It's been 79 games. So while Bulls fans are sitting there happy that we made the playoffs, let's give it up. Chicago Bulls made the playoffs. Let's just hope that we make it a lasting memory and it's something positive instead of negative. I want to see the Chicago Bulls winning the playoffs this year. I don't want to just see them make it just to make it. As much draft picks as we gave up for Vooch, as much money as we paid DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso, and you guys are just selling just for making the playoffs? We got a better roster than most of these other teams that's in the East. Why are we so low? Why are we a number 6 seed, a number 5 seed? A lot of Bulls fans are happy tonight, but I am not, because I am one of those Bulls fans that for years, and ever since I've been a Bulls fan, I've always expected excellence, even when I shouldn't have expected it. This year, I should have expected it because we have the roster. We have 3 All-Stars on our team. We have a supporting cast. Well, Lonzo Ball's out. Okay, you got to replace him. And like I said in past podcasts, we had Cook in here, DeJuan Cook. What else we had in here that we got rid of? Stanley Johnson. And got rid of these guys, and I felt like they could have helped us. And we're here struggling with front court help as far as defense. The Bulls just make the wrong decisions at the wrong times, and they've done it a lot this year. So it doesn't surprise me. You know, listen, everybody, it's a lot of teams that are young that know how to do their jobs, that come to work every day. And I haven't seen that from the Bulls this year. I've heard talk about contracts. I heard talk about playing time. Kobe White, Zach LaVine. Heard talk about everything. I've even heard talk about rest. I heard talk about MVPs, DeMar DeRozan. But I ain't heard nothing about being dedicated to winning. I ain't heard nothing about changing and turning things around, turning the struggle around. When it rains, it pours for us, man. We drop like at least 5 to 10 straight games. I'm glad we made the playoffs, but I'm not glad that that's for all we settled for all year. And it seems like that's why our guys are pretty much content with getting their butts whipped tonight. And I've never known a Bulls team that accepted defeat. And that's what worries me going into the playoffs. We're going to come back and wrap it up right after this. You want the most uncensored and blunt podcast? The Bulls Guys Podcast. There's only Kdub and Greg Love can bring it to you. Follow us on Anchor, Spotify, and all social media platforms.
You're listening to the Bulls Guys Podcast, where we talk about your Chicago Bulls and give an unbiased take. Thank you for listening, and like and subscribe.
Final word. Final word. So the Bulls limp into the playoffs, clinching. The Cleveland Cavaliers, a familiar foe of ours. Who would have thought they'd help us get in? But the Bulls must find their true selves. They must find that team at the beginning of the year that was serving teams. And if they don't find that, it will be a quick, brief playoffs for the Bulls. That ain't the Chicago way. That ain't the Bulls that we've become accustomed to seeing in past years. The baby Bulls, the championship Michael Jordan-led Bulls, the D. Rose-led Bulls, all teams that have pride and have had pride in those playoffs. We've always been the toughest draw, but this year it seems like every team wants to draw us. We have to flip that script and make teams regret playing that scrappy team from the Windy City that plays in the Madhouse on Madison. So Lonzo Ball has some setbacks. He's expected not to be back for the rest of the season, according to Adrian Woj. And here's the report.
Lonzo Ball, who Billy Donovan said tonight before the game, had some soreness again in his knee when they tried to ramp him back up. I'm told he is likely going to be out the rest of the season. He had knee surgery in mid-January. He's been out since then. And every time they've tried to start him back up, there's been a setback. Now, I'm told no final decision's been made, but there's a meeting here in the next couple days with the Bulls and Lonzo Ball's reps at Clutch Sports. But very likely, Lonzo Ball won't return this season.
As if we didn't have enough bad news. Lonzo Ball apparently will not return. Had a meniscus procedure on his knee. And the crazy thing is, like, I was talking to Greg on the podcast and saying, we nobody knew this guy was hurt. We didn't know he was hurt, but he apparently was. And the injury is more serious than we thought. And he's not going to return back this season. And that's a big loss for the Bulls, in my opinion, because they don't have a real floor general at the moment. But my suggestion for the playoffs is you can't use AO. AO averaging 8.5 points and 3 assists a game. Kobe White averaging 12 points a game and about a little under 3 assists a game. But those two, man, they haven't been like the typical point guards that we really need. The floor general that's going to get everybody the ball where they need it. AO's good because of his defense and he can force turnovers and get steals. But it's just not the same without a player like Lonzo Ball running the point, man. That can also hit the three. That can also hit the open shot. That's a shooting threat. And he's going to be missed, man. And it's just devastating. More bad news along with the Bulls' recent woes as of late. But the only positive today is that we clinched the playoffs. But we still dropped and seeded into number 6 as Toronto won tonight. But hey, it is what it is, man. The Bulls got to find themselves in the playoffs. And you call it the second season. So my best advice to them is just, to put the regular season behind them and look forward to the playoffs and, reinvent yourself and play the way that you know how to play. But that's my show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us tonight. Please like and subscribe below. Please share with your friends, people that are Bulls fans that would be interested in a podcast like us. And follow us on Spotify, Facebook, IG, all social media platforms. And man, it's going to be a rough playoffs. And, I'm looking forward to it, but then again, I'm not. Thanks for joining me tonight. Go Bulls. Good night.